In this video, I'm going to cover what is considered to be the top 10 ways to identify a narcissist. This came up after I had a discussion with a close friend, and they were discussing some of the things that they'd grown up with. And they didn't realize at first why, in their terms, they were messed up. And they were telling me about the things that their parent used to actually say and do to them. And when I discussed narcissism with them, they had no idea, that blank look on their face. So first up, what is a narcissist? A narcissistic person can be defined as someone who lives through or is possessive of or engages in marginalizing competition with those in their life. This can be in the form of a romantic relationship, a professional relationship, or even as a parent. Now, typically, the narcissist perceives the independence of their supply, which is a person they use as their own, as a threat, and they coerce that person to exist within the narcissist's shadow. Now, with unreasonable expectations, of course. Now, in a narcissistic relationship, the target is rarely loved just for being themselves, and is always used for what they can give to the narcissist. Some people, some could call a narcissist a self-absorbed, controlling energy vampire. While some people may exhibit a few of the following traits at one time or another, which might not be a major issue, pathological narcissist tends to dwell habitually in several of the following personas, while remaining largely unaware or unconscious or even unconcerned with how these behaviors affect others. Now, the first persona, first trait, is they use or they live through others. Now, most parents want their children to succeed. Some narcissistic parents, however, set expectations not for the benefit of their children, but for the fulfillment of their own selfish needs and dreams. Instead of raising a child whose own thoughts, emotions, and goals are nurtured and valued, the offspring becomes a mere extension of the parent's personal wishes, and the child's individuality is diminished. This goes on in other relationships where the narcissist will become controlling of others, seeking to micromanage every level of independence and individuality. The second persona is marginalization. Some narcissists are threatened by the potential, promise, and success of those in their life, as it directly challenges the narcissist's self concepts and self esteem. Consequently, a narcissistic mother or father might make a concerted effort to put the child down so the parent remains superior. Examples of this, of competitive marginalization, include nitpicking, unreasonable judgment and criticisms, unfavorable comparisons, invalidation of positive attitudes and emotions, and rejection of success and accomplishments. In a work environment, this has been nicknamed the small poppy syndrome and often can be identified by marginalization of colleagues and partners to the level that directly limits the confidence of that individual being targeted. The common themes through these put downs are often there's always something wrong with you, and you'll never be good enough. You see, by lowering the offspring's confidence or their person's confidence, the narcissistic parent gets to boost his or her own insecure self worth. The third personality or persona is grandiosity or superiority. Many narcissists have falsely inflated self image with a conceited sense about who they are and what they do. Often, individuals around the narcissist are not treated as human beings, but merely tools or objects to be used for personal gain. Some children of narcissistic parents are objectified in the same manner, while others are thought to possess the same forged superiority complex, which often leads to sibling rivalry of a new level or favoritism from the narcissist, the favorite golden child, for example. This sense of grandiose entitlement, however, is almost exclusively based on superficial, egotistical, and material trappings, attained at the expense of one's humanity, morals, conscientiousness, and relatedness. One becomes more superior by being less human. The fourth persona is the superficial image. Closely related to grandiosity, many narcissists love to show others how special they are, how they've got it all together. They enjoy publicly parading with what consider their superior dispositions, be it in material possessions, physical appearance, projects, accomplishments, background, membership, contacts in high places, and or the trophy spouse, or even their kids if they have them. They go out of their way to seek ego boosting attention and flattery. For some narcissists, social networking is a wonderland where they regularly advertise how wonderful and envy worthy their lives are. The underlying messages may be, I am, or my life is so special and interesting, and look at me, I have what you don't have. It's not uncommon for a narcissist, however, to arrange a family photo shoot or a photo shoot so that they can go as far as staging the perfection, which will then become more material to show off to the world later on. It is crucial to the narcissist to portray the image of perfection to the world so that nobody will think to look closer and see all of the cracks in the portrait. After all, that would make them human. Heaven forbid. The fifth persona is manipulation. Now, common examples of narcissistic parenting manipulation include the guilt trip. I've done everything for you and you're so ungrateful. Or the common one you hear, I was in labour with you for 14 hours and you ought to do this. Blaming, it's not your fault. Correction, it is your fault. What you'll actually notice is a play on words there. You'll never hear them say it's not your fault because when they do the blaming properly, it's always your fault. And it's your fault that I'm not happy, meaning they're puppets and you're in control. They love shaming. Your poor performance is an embarrassment to the family. Your views are terrifying us all. You're a shame. Negative comparison. Why can't you be as good as your brother? Unreasonable pressure. You will perform at your best to make me proud. I can't really do this that well. Manipulative reward and punishment. If you don't pursue what I told you to do, I'm going to cut off my support and you're going to feel it. Emotional coercion. Emotional coercion's a funny one. Let's just step back to manipulative reward and punishment for a second, because reward and punishment is something that Pavlov and his dogs proved that all humans have this response to. However, reward and punishment can be used at a personal self level. For example, you set a goal and you chase it, or it can be at a control level. Now, what we're talking about here, when they offer you a carrot or a dangle in order to, something to go and chase after and to do their thing. Now, this isn't to be confused with normal parenting techniques. That's, sometimes it is appropriate to do that. What we're talking about here is requesting upon a person to make a serious or a big change, or else they're going to be abandoned, or they're going to have something that's so painful if they lose it that it would be painful or hurtful for that to happen. So, in short, manipulative rewards or punishments are, if you don't pursue the college major that I chose for you, I will cut off my support. So, now on to emotional coercion. You or you're not a good daughter or son unless you measure up to my expectations. A common theme running through these forms of manipulation is that love is given as a conditional reward rather than the natural expression of healthy parenting. On the other hand, the withholding of love is used as threat and punishment. Persona number 6, inflexible and touchy. Certain narcissists are highly rigid when it comes to expected behaviors of those around them, in particular children. They regulate all minor details and can become upset when there's deviation. Some narcissists are also touchy and easily triggered. Reasons for irritations towards another can vary greatly, from a lack of attention and obedience to perceived faults and shortcomings, to being in their presence at the wrong time, etc. One reason for the narcissist's inflexibility and touchiness is their desire to control the other person. The narcissist responds negatively and disproportionately when she or he sees that the person will not always be pulled by the strings. Persona number 7, common one, lack of empathy. One of the most common manifestations of a narcissist is the ability to be mindful of the other person's own thoughts and feelings and validate them as real and important. Only when the narcissist thinks and feels it matters to them is it important. People under this type of toxic influence over time may respond with one of three survival instincts. They may fight back and stand up for themselves. They may flight and distance from the parent, or some may begin to freeze and then substitute their invalidated real self with a false persona or playing a role, thus adopting traits of narcissism themselves. Persona number 8 is a dependency or a codependency environment relationship. Some narcissists expect their partners or children to take care of them for the rest of their lives. This type of dependency can be emotional, physical, and or financial. While there's nothing inherently wrong with taking care of older parents, it's an admirable trait. But the narcissistic parent typically manipulates an offspring into making unreasonable sacrifices with little regard for the child's own priorities and needs. Some narcissists may also maneuver their adult children into codependency. Psychological professor Sean Byrne defines codependent relationship as one where one person's help or support enables the other's underachievements, irresponsibility, immaturity, addiction, procrastination, or poor mental or physical health. The ninth persona is jealousy and possessiveness. Since a narcissistic mother or father often hopes that the child will permanently dwell under the parent's influence, she or he may become extremely jealous at any signs of the child's growth, maturity, and independence. Any perceived act of individualization and separation, from choosing one's own academic and career path to making friends not approved by that parent to spending time on one's own priorities, are interpreted negatively and personally. Why are you doing this to me? In particular, the appearance of a romantic partner in an adult child's life may be viewed as a major threat and frequently responded to with rejection, criticism, and disdain of competition. Just take for a moment. So, what you got to understand is it's not always the person in your life. Sometimes, just sometimes, it can be the idea or the perception of the threat of somebody coming into your life. There are some narcissists who will completely respond from perceived threat rather than actual threat, um, because there's a lot of going on in here. All about them, but it's still going on in there. So, in the eyes of some narcissistic parents, no romantic partner is ever good enough for their child, and no interloper can ever challenge them for dominance of their child. In other situations, it's typically identified by a rigidness to accept that a person may need to interact with others. In most circumstances, the narcissist will put restrictions, limitations, and controls on their target to ensure that they stay within their guidelines for interaction. Of course, this is usually due to a fear that outside interactions will show their target what independence and freedom can feel like. And number 10, the big 10, 1 0, neglect, or 1 0, because we're doing it backwards on a video. Now, Neglect is something that is a byproduct of many different things. If somebody has an addiction to a particular thing, sometimes they lose focus and lose track. In terms of narcissism, that addiction is of themselves. And the story of narcissism or Narcissus from Greek mythology was he looked into to the water and saw his own reflection and became so enamored he actually fell into the water and drowned himself because he found himself so beautiful. So covering off number 10 is neglect. Now, in some situations, a narcissist may choose to focus primarily on her or his self absorbing interests, which to the narcissist are more exciting than being there for others. These activities may provide the narcissist the stimulation, validation, and self importance she or he craves, but it could be in the form of career obsession, social flamboyance, or personal adventures and hobbies. The child is left either to the other parent or, in most often cases, to his or her own devices. And in this day and age, it's often an electronic partner in the term in forms of an iPad or something to that effect. Well, look, that's it. A long and detailed look at some things that impacts most people. Chances are you know a narcissist, and this top 10 will shine a light on areas that a narcissist would run from. Think about those people in your life in context, of course. There are times where any one of those 10 things may be appropriate for a particular time or situation. The common thread, however, is the self-centeredness without actually really being behind it. With that, have a great time and bye bye for now.